It's Dave Joe once again for Punchout Boxing. Pleased to be joined by my international colleague, the international man of mystery, Ra Hokum. How are you, mate? First day back, isn't it?
Very good. Managed to take my disguise off, as you can see. Bit tiring, all this traveling, but well worth it to be out there. Fulfilled I guess, a lifetime dream of mine to see the next undisputed heavyweight champion crowned. I guess all them years ago, I never could have imagined it would be in Saudi Arabia. Always presumed it'd be in Las Vegas, but yeah, it was great to witness that and be part of this big evolution in the sport that we're witnessing.
I mean, look, for me watching from home, you were there amidst all the action. You were talking to a lot of the fighters, got loads of content back as well, interviews. You met loads of people. This is before this, we were waiting 25 years for an undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. I said it all week, the greatest prize in sports.
Mhm.
You were part of, you could say you're part of history being made as well. What was the general consensus like from when you landed? Was it a pro Fury crowd? Was it split down the middle? Were more people siding with Usyk? What was the crowd like? And what were our media colleagues saying as well?
It was pretty evenly split. I think there was maybe a slight edge in terms of the fans towards Fury, but you'd expect that. He's English speaking. There's going to be more of the English speaking press going over to the Middle East. Uh, but yeah, amongst our media colleagues, yeah, it was fairly even. Again, just a slight tilt towards Fury. But that's what you'd expect. The undisputed championship, it should be much like our predictions. It should be that in doubt that you can't separate it easily. So, and that's how it turned out on the scorecards included. So, yeah, it was a fight and an event well worthy of the momentous occasion.
It definitely did deliver as well. I mean, what a fight. I mean, if we break down the actual fight, we'll go for Fury versus Usyk first. For me watching it, I think it was a very close fight. However,
Hmm.
round nine, that was the game changer. That round was where people just thought, no, it's Usyk all the way now. Now, when you look back at round seven when he kissed the crucifix as well, it
Hmm.
it was just, it was just epic proportions, wasn't it? This fight it delivered. Forget about heavyweight boxing. This fight delivered in boxing in general. I mean, when the scorecards were read, but for you, was that a fair result? I think for me, it definitely was. I think if it went the other way as well, I don't think there would have that there's no robbery. But what a fair result.
Yeah, I think so. There is a lot of chatter, as you know, for these sort of close fights, as there always is a lot of talk about whether it was fair or not. And I actually thought, yeah, all three judges' scorecards were reasonable in their own right. Um, so I personally, like I think most people, had Usyk winning, maybe 7 or 8 rounds. But I think it's reasonable to say that of the 7 or 8 rounds that Usyk won, maybe a couple were swing rounds. So if they went to Fury, it wouldn't have been, particularly outrageous. Which means it could be 7-5 the other way, or
Mhm.
plausibly 6-all in rounds. But with the knockdown, the big ninth round, that extra point in Usyk's favour, the result was fair, I think. I don't think anything about the fight was particularly controversial, and I think
What
both
about?
did
I,
it.
I think that the most controversial thing that's coming out so far, which people were talking about on the night as well, and they're still talking about it now, which was the ref should have stopped it. The ref
Mhm.
uh, just basically, again, not my words, but the ref prevented the knockout of Tyson Fury. What was the consensus there, and especially with our media colleagues over there? Was it a split opinion?
Yeah, again, I think it was split, but tilting towards, yeah, by rights, it could have been stopped, but him not stopping it, again, I don't think it's fair to say Usyk was robbed of a KO win because certainly say in America, American referees would let that carry on. So a lot of people are saying, well, he took a dozen unanswered blows. But if you look at it again carefully, he was riding a lot of them. Yes, he was wobbling. He was falling back into the ropes, but he was able to stay on his feet just, um, during a couple of them flurries where he was rocking around the ring. He was able to turn away from a lot of the punches. And most importantly, it's the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. It's the biggest fight of both men's careers. They're all, they're both very experienced, have got a track record of coming through adversity. I think it was reasonable that the referee gave Tyson
Mm.
every chance to see the round out. And as it turns out, he did give him a count. Again, the circumstances were reasonable. The ropes held him up at the end, and that is a reasonable grounds to call a count. I think the way the referee was sort of half looking to get in and then not getting in, I think that made it look worse than it was.
Hmm.
Um, but the actual decision to let it go on, give Tyson every chance to keep fighting, I thought was I thought it was reasonable at that level, given what these fighters have got on the line. It was reasonable, and as we saw, I got my prediction wrong, where I thought that Fury would fail in the championship rounds. He proved me wrong, and probably a lot of us wrong, in that he showed that he still had the wherewithal to get through it and get to the final bell.
Yeah, he did. I mean, look, we don't expect anything less. And if we just revisit our predictions, you were going
Mhm.
for Usyk late stoppage, which again was almost on the cards. I went for Tyson. I was sitting on the fence all week, to be fair, and even on the night of the fight as well. But I went for Tyson Fury split decision. Again, we could have had that result as well. So it's one of those.
Mhm.
It's one of those intriguing fights where the scorecards, they got it right. And if it did tip the other way, I wouldn't have complained as well. I think there was definitely no robbery, but what an epic showdown. And when we look at the career of Tyson Fury, not to say that he's retired now, because there is still talks of the rematch, if it's going to happen, and again, that opens up another debate. Are we going to see the same outcome?
Mhm.
Because it was such a tough fight. Tyson Fury's been in that the trilogy with Deontay Wilder. When I spoke to Asgater last week as well, I asked him as well how much did that take out of him, and he thinks it didn't really take much out of him. But
Mhm.
again, he's been in some wars, hasn't he? Do you think that did have a toll in the end? Because after the Deontay Wilder fights, he defended against Chisora, Dillian White. Um, Ngannou wasn't the best performance against Ngannou. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, listen, the nature of this sport is such that every fight is taking a toll of sorts. But again, maybe once again Tyson has confounded us. Maybe what we think of as a dramatic decline in him, actually he's able to manage that decline or maybe absorb a lot more punishment than we realize. Yes, it would have taken a toll, but it would also have taken a toll on Usyk. Um, it's worth remembering in those middle rounds, Usyk took quite a bit of punishment, and he had to do
Did.
his customary dig deep to sort of turn it back round. Sort of after the seventh round, because I think it was probably what rounds 4 to 7, where Usyk was struggling. So, and Usyk is a smaller man, so and by his own admission, fighting up at heavyweight does take a bigger toll on him. So it would have taken a toll on both of them. It, again, I'm just none the wiser as to how a rematch would go. Part of me does think, well, yeah, that ninth round will have affected Tyson no end, and he'll be further diminished. But then I was thinking that before this fight anyway, and he
Mhm.
showed, like I said, that remarkable ability to recover from it and still be competitive in the final 3 rounds. So yeah, I think a lot will now just come down to the mindset of both men. Alex Krasik, as you saw in the interview I did with him, he did allude to the idea that Tyson will be very deeply affected by the defeat.
Yeah,
But who's to say that he won't be deeply affected to the point where he's utterly determined to set this right? Because we don't actually know how a fighter deals with their first defeat until it happens. So I'm none the wiser. I think if you were to ask me this early how a rematch would go, I'd say once again it's as we were before this fight. I would expect Usyk to win again, but based on what we saw, would not be surprised in the least if Tyson is able to reverse that result. So it's intriguing, and the decisions of both men in the coming months will also be intriguing because Tyson doesn't have a track record of getting rematches in quickly.
yeah,
Usyk as well, it's worth remembering, he doesn't fight regularly these days either. He's got more of a pass for it because he doesn't do as much talking as Tyson. But since he's moved up to heavyweight, he fights usually once a year. So it'll be interesting to see what both men want to do next. But yeah, a lot to look forward to. I don't think this chapter of the heavyweight division is closed yet.
yeah. It's almost getting there. I mean, where does Usyk go after this? Rematch or no rematch? He's won absolutely everything from cruiserweight to heavy. He's taken everything. I mean, where does he go? There's no point going down to bridgerweight. There's no point going back down to he's conquered absolutely everything. So the fight with Tyson Fury, the rematch after that. I mean,
Yeah,
let's look at the record. He's beaten Anthony Joshua twice, Tyson Fury. Okay,
mhm.
he's beaten Tony Bellew as well, another Brit. Derek Chisora, that was his test at heavyweight, his debut at heavyweight, wasn't it? So, and it goes on. He's beaten Bradis, Gassiev. Yeah, most of these fighters here, they're elite fighters. Where
Resume
does he go? I
unreal.
mean, look, this is
No, he is at the top of the mountain. As we discussed midweek, I'd be happy for both men to retire now. Actually, I'd prefer them to. Um, I really think for Usyk, the only thing left, I think, is that rematch. And personally, I would if I was managing him or advising him, I'd say get the rematch if Tyson Fury commits to it to the original date of October, and that should be it. Simply because there's a little bit of doubt about this, that there's still this idea that Tyson he ran in close enough that he might be able to reverse the result. Um, and of course, one of the judges did have it in his favour. So that's really all, and then draw a line under the career there. But if Tyson does what he's done in the past and mess around with the dates, delay it,
mm,
get injured, etc., I think Usyk should he should call it a day. Um, like I said, I'm sure Turki Al-Sheikh will put on a tournament for all of these top contenders and interim title holders and whatever. And within a year or two, we might have a new undisputed champion crown. And if Usyk feels sufficiently rested and recuperated, and the new champion is, gives him the motivation for another challenge, maybe he could come back then. But I certainly don't think he should allow himself to be messed around with an on-off rematch for the better part of a year. So
no.
yeah,
I
that's
I
what I'd
think
say.
I think possibly as well that if the titles are fragmented, where does that leave Anthony Joshua as well? Ajit Kabayel. These are people that are potentially future world champions, right? Daniel Dubois could possibly mop up some of the belts as well once the current era
Yeah,
of the heavyweight division is finished. Jai Opetaia could go up to heavyweight. There's loads of possibilities here, to be fair.
there's
Loads.
there is. like I said, with the Saudis' involvement, like I said, a tournament could easily be put on. I know Riyadh season will restart in the autumn. So yeah, I mean, Ajit Kabayel, who he had that great win on the undercard, a worthy mandatory challenger now for the WBC belt. That could have him against AJ for the vacant belt. You've got Joe Parker, who will be elevated to full WBO champ. Um, he could rematch the winner of Zhang and Wilder, who are fighting in a fortnight in that 5v5 tournament. Like I said, Dubois and Hergovich, they'll probably duke it out for the IBF. And you know what? You could put several of these fights on the same card. Um, because we know that the Saudis want these really big, attractive events. And yeah, like I said, with the amount of money on offer, look how quickly the fights are made. I don't think you'll be waiting another 25 years to get another undisputed champ.
Yeah, and I know what you're saying as well. However, waiting this long,
Mhm.
it's also it's a bad thing, but then also at the same time as well, we don't want to have one of these every single year because then it takes away the specialness from it, as
Yeah,
well. So
yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, who knows? We might not see something like this again for another 25 to 30 years possibly. But at the same time, would you want to see this every single year? I wouldn't.
No, you're right. The fact that it was such a long wait does make it that much more special. Um, but at the same time, this is the problem with getting an undisputed champ who's sort of at the end of their career, because essentially we don't get to see a great champion sort of defend the title for much. So, but let's see how it plays out. I guess when push comes to shove, the people who handle the purse strings will ultimately decide the direction of the sport.
Just before we move on to the other fights on the card very quickly as well. Um, John Fury,
Mhm.
a lot of controversy as well, not just from the headbutt incident, but from what was being said in the corner. Not my words, but allegedly drowning out the sounds of Sugar Hill and Andy Lee in the corner. What was talked around the campfire?
Yeah, pretty much that. What I think we all know, he's the classic case of a man trying to live vicariously through his son's success. And in the past, he's been very critical of numerous Tyson Fury trainers. The one time he gets involved in the corner himself, he gives Fury his own son advice that arguably cost him the fight. And I somewhat suspect Tyson had to bite his tongue because it is his own dad, but he did allude to this that I think he said several times in the post-fight press conference that, yeah, in the corner I was being told I was well ahead. Well, that was
Yep.
John Fury telling him. And again, it's this idea that only if you've been in the ring have you got the right to talk about boxing. Look, sometimes guys who were fighters, even great fighters, aren't necessarily great coaches. Well, John Fury weren't a particularly good fighter and not a good cornerman by the looks of it either, because he gave his son incorrect info. So whether Tyson had the wherewithal to, step on the gas those final couple of rounds to maybe get a couple of rounds that would have swayed it to him, we don't know. But certainly he's right that being told in the corner, yeah, you're way ahead, didn't do him any favors. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think Tyson might have to have some a difficult conversation with his own father, um, because he seems more of a liability than anything. Uh, yeah, and as we saw from his some of his public antics, he might well get his son into some trouble inadvertently, especially in a place like Saudi Arabia. That sort of behavior really we don't want to see, and I'm sure the Saudis don't certainly don't.
No. Hopefully, when the rematch is signed as well, things are put to bed and we get another classic, an El Clasico. Um, and it's quite professional, shall we just say. Just moving on to two other fights on the card very quickly as well. Jai Opetaia and Marius Bradis. What a war that was. I mean, 12 rounds. You and I thought it wouldn't last six or seven, to
Mhm.
be fair. And I don't know if you've seen the picture at the end as well, where both men reuniting in the hospital room like Rocky 2. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
it was what a war. I mean,
What?
Jai Opetaia doesn't need to go there again, nor does Bradis, right?
No, absolutely. Well, we both thought the younger man this time would have too much, but kudos to Myris Breedis. He is absolutely an incredible old warhorse. Tough beyond imagining to once again come through that. I think they both suffered broken noses for their trouble and a couple of them exchanges. I shudder to think what those sort of punches felt like to each other. But yeah, the old warhorse came through, and I think that once again the final three rounds, he came on strong, and Jai, yeah, he had to. I wouldn't say he went into survival mode, but the final three rounds he did have to
Tough.
just cautiously. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was an incredible fight. I think again both men come out of it with kudos. I think Oppenheimer won't fight another cruiserweight as good as Breedis again. I think Breedis at 40, I think he did say before the fight, this is probably his last fight, and I would like it to be being a great servant to the sport. He has been, I mean, he's been one of the great cruiserweights. Um, and yeah, the only two men to have beaten him is a certified all-time great in Usyk and probably a future great in Jai Opetaia. So yeah, I think he can certainly leave the sport with his head held very high indeed. I would like him to call it a day now before some far lesser fighters who wouldn't have been able to lace his gloves in in his prime, beat him.
Yeah.
So
I think it's interesting to see where Jaya Patar goes next. Does he go for the winner of Riatpur and Chris Billum-Smith? Because that would be a great fight as well. Um, and he said as well publicly, he's told us both, and look, it's strap season, and he wants all the belts now. In our
yeah,
opinion, he was wrongfully stripped of the IBF with a short notice, defending it, which was unreasonable. Um, but yeah, I'd like to see him go after the other title holders now, to be fair, and see where that
yeah,
ends.
that's what he wants to do. Again, he's still in his 20s, so I think he should be good for making weight. For another year or two more, I'd like to think. But I fear that politics will work against him more than anything because CBS and Reactport, of course, are with Boxer, and they've got a track record of not working well with Matchroom.
Hmm.
Um, just seen on social media earlier today that Gilberto Ramirez has just come out of hospital from some surgery of some sort. So he looks like he's out for a lengthy period. So yeah, those other belts might not be easy to come by, which will be a pity, a big waste of a great talent if he doesn't get those biggest.
Yeah, unless they strip him, which has happened before, to fighters that we know, such as Joe Cordino, who we're going to come on to next. Good segue
Yeah.
there, wasn't it? So,
Mhm.
stripped off the IBF, won it back, lost in a which some would declare was an upset. You caught up with Kakachi this week, the man from Belfast. People said he told you no one gave me a chance, and he's won. What a performance! That was a
Yeah.
huge win overseas, and to beat Joe Cordina in the fashion he did, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. I did have a suspicion that he might pull off the upset of the night. The rumors around Saudi Arabia was certainly that Cordina was struggling badly on the scales. There's a lot of our media colleagues were saying they were seeing him regularly out in the Arabian heat running. Um, and you know the heat got to like close what 40 degrees during the day, and he was out running, which shows how much he was trying to get off more weight. Um, so yeah, when I heard those rumors, I did actually allude to it when I spoke to Anto. He gave a wry smile and as if he he doesn't care, but I'm sure these rumors get around the sport, and yeah, I mean, but let's not say he won just because Cordina was struggling with the weight. People inside the industry have known for a while how good Kakachi is. He's just
Yep.
been plagued with injuries and plagued with problems getting the hardest or the best matches. But it's a bit of a Cinderella story. He stuck with his pro career for 12 years, and at the age of 35, only had 4 weeks notice, but at 35, of course, he was going to take it, and it paid off. How it paid off. So yeah, let's hope for however long he's got left at the top, he gets a couple of them big paydays and yeah, complete that fairy story. Lovely guy, great pro, and
An easy
great.
fight to make could be him and Lee Wood, to be fair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean that's a cracking fight.
Both
Um,
Lee Wood and Josh Warrington, I think they've made no secret they want to fight at super featherweight. Either one of them, we know have got great support bases. Yeah, I think that either of them could be great fights. So yeah, let's hope Anto gets that big opportunity.
and just very finally as well, we can't end it by not talking about Ajit Kabayel, who has again had another shock win. That's
Yeah,
two on the bounce now, both in Saudi. Um, you know, the boogeyman of the division. I mean, those body shots are just they're
yeah.
phenomenal. He's so
Listen,
relentless.
when do you ever see heavyweights throw that many effective body shots? Can you think of any recently? I certainly can't. I mean, I was critical of him in the past because I thought after that great win he had against Chisora, which is obviously years ago now, his career seemed to have stalled. And I thought, well, is he serious? Is he just hanging around for you know, easy opponents?
Was
But
that the
kudos.
controversial win?
No, he was a clear winner. I think it was a case of
Kalanius was the controversial win, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
But when the time came, he stepped up. Two two danger men of the division, two unbeaten top contenders, and interestingly, two very different styles. You had Makhmudov, who was just a crude but heavy-handed brawler, stopped him to the body, and then a slick Cuban boxer in Sanchez and broke him down to the body. So yeah, this guy is a very good heavyweight contender, and I think well worthy of being the mandatory for the WBC belt. When he gets that chance, we don't know, um, but he's got that position, and he's well worthy of it. So yeah, I'm glad for him, and a lot of us agree he's one of the lovely guys that we've come across, in the Saudi scene. So yeah, let's hope he finally lands those big opportunities for the titles.
Absolutely. And before we call it a day, you're on your travels again to see Lawrence Okolie challenge for the WBC Bridgerweight title this week. And again, that's going to be another. Hopefully, it'll be a good night. Hopefully, it'll be a classic, and not like a Coley versus Chamberlain, should we just say, at the O2 many years ago. Um, when are you flying out for that one?
I'm actually just flying out on the Friday morning, so I'll get there in time for fight night. Not much publicity around the fight here in the UK, obviously, but Lawrence, a local lad just down the road from me in Hackney, so I've got to go and support him. Having met some of our Polish media colleagues over there in Saudi Arabia, they're actually not that positive about their man Rosansky's chances against Oakley. So I think Lawrence, he's got a great chance of redeeming himself, bringing that title back. And I spoke to Kevin Lorena over in Riyadh, and he's actually the mandatory for that. So if fans want to go and look at the interview I did with him. He said he's clearly targeting the winner of that. He hopes it's a Coley because he would like to come and
Yeah,
have a big fight here in London. So yeah, the Bridgerweight title, of course, it's a new division, but put that aside, there's some interesting fights there.